So as you guys have seen, I've got some awesome news. I finally shot this thing. I appreciate your support and your encouragement because it's been kind of a pain in the neck. It's been a tough build. But I finally shot it. I've been to the range 2 or 3 times now, tried different ammo, including some hand loads, some store-bought stuff. And the gun has a few issues, but I'm really happy, and I think it's going to be a really fantastic gun. Several things I want to share with you guys. I modified the 1 mag so that the feed lips were back further to allow the rear of the cartridge to come up sooner because I was getting the 3-point jams. With the new barrel, for whatever reason, the jams aren't happening, or at least they're lessened. So I'm going to leave the other 2 mags that I have alone for now and not modify them. Down the road I might, but for now I'm not going to touch them. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Another issue that I was having is the rim of the case. As the rear of it, the rim of the case came up underneath the extractor, I was having some jams there. So if this is the rear face of the hook on the extractor, I rounded over the bottom of it a little bit so that as the rim came up this way, it would have a little relief and could get under there more easily. Also, where the edge of the rim touches the side of the extractor, I rounded up that sort of ramp. And I think those were good things to do, but the extractor I had in the gun, the rear face of the hook was a little bit farther forward from the breech face, left a little bit too much space in there, and so it wasn't getting a tight grip on the rim. Initially that wasn't a problem, but there's something else I did that caused that looseness to completely fail to start extracting, or started failing to extract rounds as I test fired the gun. And that is, I shortened the ejector right over, well, you guys know where the ejector is, right over here. This guy on the left side of the gun here, if you look in the open port here, the stock ejector was very, very long. And the problem that was causing was when I had a loaded round in the chamber and tried to eject it, the nose of the bullet was hitting the front of the ejection port. So I had to shorten the ejector quite a lot so that it wouldn't start popping the nose of the round out of the chamber until further back in the movement of the slide here. That, in combination with the mods that I made to the extractor, caused the extractor to completely fail. So I put a new extractor in, and the rear face of the hook is closer to the breech face, so it's getting a better grip on the rim. I also made the 2 relief modifications, rounded those edges over a little bit, and I'm getting good extraction and good ejection now. The rounds are ejecting at about a 45-degree angle over my shoulder, 6 feet away, 6 feet, 8 feet away, so that's really good. Another problem that I had was 1 light primer strike, and that was out of probably over 100 rounds initially. First, I think 2 times I went to the gun range with it, had 1 light primer strike. So I put in a heavier hammer spring. I think I went from 25 pounds up to 28 pounds, so a few pounds heavier. So that light primer strike could have been from a primer that wasn't seated all the way. I think that was on one of my hand loads, which I had loaded a long time ago. So it might have been nothing, but the stronger hammer spring is a good idea. I think it's fine. Now though, however, the slide is not locking back on the last round because that heavier hammer spring causes more resistance to the slide moving back, and I'm thinking that's the reason it's not locking back, because the slide doesn't move back as easily and as quickly or as far, and so the slide stop is not catching the notch in the slide there. So what I'm going to do is put a lighter recoil spring in the gun. Hopefully it'll fix not only that issue, but make the gun a little bit easier to use, because the slide is a little heavy, but not terrible. And you're not going to be racking the slide all day long anyway, under normal use. So, but if the slide's a little bit easier to manipulate, that's a bonus. So that's another issue that I think is minor, and that'll be easy to take care of. So for the most part, the trigger is fantastic. No creep, very crisp, very short take up, or over travel. Short take up too. Very short reset. Love it. On occasion though, I can pull really hard on it and it won't fire. So I'm not sure what's happening. The last few dozen rounds today, last several dozen, it was no problem. So I'm not positive what that is. I'll keep my eyes open for what could be causing that and address it if I figure it out. Like I said, the last little while today at the range, there wasn't a problem. For the most part, the trigger is awesome. Today at the range, there were a number of malfunctions I was having where the slide, when I fired the gun, the slide would cycle and it would maybe have a 1/4 inch of travel left, or maybe 3/8, maybe a 1/2 inch, where it wouldn't go into battery. It'd stop right there. And then you could just push on it and it was kind of gritty and it would go into battery and fire then if you'd push with your thumbs on the back of the slide. I'm hoping that my crimp on my hand loads is just a little bit, isn't quite tight enough. So I'm going to clean the gun and then take some more of my hand loads that I've got sitting right here and just take the barrel and see how easily they fit into the barrel. I'm hoping it was just not enough crimp on the bullet on my hand loads. So that's another issue that I need to investigate and address. But hopefully it's no big deal. Hopefully it's not the gun. With the new barrel, the slide stop pin here, of course, the lower lug of the barrel rides up on that, and that's what determines how far the slide goes forward. And it wasn't going quite far enough forward, maybe just a 1/16 of an inch, just a tiny little bit. I could have just blended the back of the frame and the slide here, but the safety wasn't, it was stiff. I had to pull really hard to get it to click on because since the slide was back, the front edge of the safety was just rubbing right there. So I got out my lower lug cutter and cut just a little bit on the slide so that it would go forward a little bit more so that the safety would snap on nice and easily. So that took care of that problem. Then I took a couple needle files and did a little more blending on the lower lug, a round file and then a flat file on the front nose. So where that ramp goes this way, the lower lug goes this way, I used a round file, and where it goes up at this angle, I used a flat file and just did some blending on that. And then I used a Kratex bit and polished the lower lugs. So I think that's fine. And I get good lockup. What do I get? I've got it written down right there. I'm getting about 52 thousandths lockup, which is plenty between the barrel lugs and the slide lugs. So really good lockup on this new barrel. So that's it. I am so happy that I finally got to shoot this thing, and thank you guys for sticking with me. These grips, by the way, I'm so proud of. This gun is really, really comfortable, and even firing this 10mm, I have perfect grip on it. I do not lose grip at all. It does not shift on my hands at all. These grips are fantastic, and they're so thin that even though it's a double stack, the grip is very comfortable. It doesn't feel big, so it's just a real pleasure to shoot. Just need to get a few of those kinks worked out, which I'll continue to work on, but probably won't make a bunch more videos about that. At this point, the primary other thing that needs doing is painting. So next time you guys see me, hopefully I'll be painting this thing, and then we'll wrap up this series, finally. So again, thanks for your encouragement and for sticking around for the duration of this build, and we'll see you guys next time.